to pick up some of my belongings that I left with this man in Birch Bay. When I had left all of a sudden, like abruptly, I left a note with him saying, will you please hold on to my things? And then I just left a really quick note as to where I'd gone. I didn't disappear into thin air. But I left right after that hearing ended when I was hung up on. And then I left that housemate there a quick note and just saying, will you please hold on to my things and I'll be back for them. But I'm not sure when. So I went back to see if he still had any of my belongings. I figured he probably did. And then I thought it was strange because then when we got there, Alvaro said to me, do you want to stay with him? It's like, you could stay with him. And I thought that was really disrespectful that he said that to me. And I picked up my things, and then we went to see my parents. It was the first time I'd seen my parents in maybe 6 years, because my travel had been obstructed for so long. And so I went to pick up my hope chest. It's a cedar hope chest that I've had since my 16th birthday. And it was a big deal when it was given to me. It had been in my family ever since I was a little girl and I could remember. And it was this very large, solid cedar wood hope chest. And that was what my parents gave to me on my 16th birthday. It was a really special, great gift. And inside of that hope chest I had a lot of my personal belongings and mementos, and had all of my photos from high school, photo albums, from some things from my childhood, letters that I had saved from friends, my high school cheerleading outfit, some long white gloves with pearl clasp at the wrist that I had worn for my first dance that I went to, or no, it wasn't my first. It was my first homecoming dance. It was my second. It was the second dance that I had gone to, I think. Maybe third. I don't remember. Anyway, I had a solid white dress with lace overlay, white lace overlay, and then 3 roses in the back at the waist. It was a Jessica McClintock dress. And it was either Jessica McClintock or Gunny Sacks. Pretty sure it's McClintock. And then I had my gloves and a pearl necklace. And I had my hair up, and I believe I had a red rose in my hair. My friend's mom did my hair and she would remember. And so I had those gloves that I'd saved all of those years in there as well. And out of all the things he was shocked to find, for some reason he was very shocked to see the long white gloves. And he looked stunned and said, what are these for? Like, kind of freaked out. Like he didn't know who I was anymore or something. And they were sort of a sateen kind of texture. They were white. I said, those are my gloves from one of the dances and the dresses that I wore. And he said, why do you have them? And I said, I've saved them. And I had saved them in the same bag that was from Nordstrom that they were put into when I purchased them. Because I'd already purchased the dress, and then I took the dress with me into the Nordstrom so that I could match it with pearl earrings and gloves and shoes. And what I found out was that when I was going out and trying to get some things done for my son and for my case, I was coming back to the house and he had cleaned everything, but I had this really weird feeling that Michael Holt had helped him. That she was possibly getting into my personal belongings. And I had this really weird feeling that, and I don't know if I I couldn't prove it, but I had a weird feeling that maybe Alvaro had taken photos of some of the things I had in my hope chest and sent those photos out to somebody. I don't know why he would do that, but I had this feeling about it. And then he asked me, he said why, he was shocked because he was looking at my photo albums, and he said, how is this possible? And he was basically saying, how is it possible? And I said, what? And he said, you're so beautiful, you're so pretty. I mean, I think I was like halfway attractive still when he was dating me, but I think he was stunned by the photos of me when I was 18 to 20, in my early 20s. And I remember looking at them too, and I guess I never knew. I never really, I mean, I did my makeup and hair the best I could and tried to make the most of myself, but even when I did that, even if I felt pretty in general, I don't think I realized that I could be very strikingly pretty, and that I was when I was younger. And I remember only a couple other times where, like, men almost stopped talking, like they didn't have words to say anything anymore. Like, speechless. I mean, like, I saw speechlessness many times when I was younger, and I just sort of thought, I don't know what I thought. I was kind of oblivious. I think that's true maybe for a lot of women. And I was never encouraged or had my looks discussed a lot in my house, with my family. You didn't just go around telling each other you look beautiful, or you have really great cheekbones, or going on about each other's features. I mean, that was not something we did in my family. We said, you look nice, and, you know, that looks really good on you, that kind of a thing. And, you know, does my butt look too fat? Well, no, it looks fine, Mom. But we didn't gloss on and on about, you know, our appearances. And so I never really thought about it. I didn't think about it that much at all. And maybe some women, when they're older, can relate to me. Then you look back on when you were younger in the photos, and you can't believe I had no idea I was that good looking. I mean, probably everybody goes through that. But I think he was shocked. I mean, I know he was. He was speechless just looking at those photos. And, I mean, I was sitting there right next to him, and I'd had some good days. I mean, some days where I had looked okay around him. But he was still speechless, seeing me when I was seeing me in some of the photos then. And I just had this feeling that he had taken some of the photos and passed them on to someone. I started feeling like he was spying on me when I was at Michael Holt's house. I didn't really feel like he was spying on me when I was with him on the East Coast. But as soon as we were in Michael Holt's house, I felt spied upon. I mean, if somebody had hidden cameras and audio and that kind of thing going on the East Coast, I wasn't aware of it. But I just felt like this tangible, somebody's going through my things and passing around information about me feeling when I was there. And then what was strange is that, well, and then I was trying to get some things done. Alvaro she was flirting with him all the time, trying to take a lot of attention of him to herself. And then I already explained the time that I opened the door and they told me to keep taking my nap. And she was saying to him on that occasion, after I closed the door and just thought to myself, I mean, I closed the door because I thought to myself, I don't believe it. I think I needed a moment to collect myself and just gather my thoughts. I just thought, I cannot believe that she just told me to go ahead, finish taking your nap. And Alvaro didn't say anything. And then I closed the door and I heard her say to him, something about my being crazy, and he laughed. And I thought, that is really, this is very interesting. And I wasn't sure what to make of it. I thought she can say whatever she wants. And I could tell that she was trying to seduce him and wanted attention for herself, so if she was trying to belittle me and defame me to him, then I that was her choice. But then one night I came home a little bit early, I guess, and I knocked on the door, and I knocked on the door, and I rang the doorbell, and I rang the doorbell. And the first thing is that the door is never locked. I had access to the house, but on that specific night, Alvaro said, "Let me have the keys." He always let me have the keys because he typically met up with me wherever I was at night, and then I would have the keys and he would meet up with me, and then we would go to the house together if we were going to be apart running different separate errands for any amount of time. But that night specifically, he wanted the keys, and that was unusual for him. That was out of the ordinary for him. So he wanted to have control of the keys. Then when I showed up at the house, at Michael Holt's house, where we were staying, the door was locked. And all of a sudden I thought, okay, he wanted to have the keys so that I couldn't walk in with the keys. And I kept knocking and ringing the doorbell. It was 10 minutes later or something. I mean, it was much, much later. I was wondering what is going on. I went around to the side of the house and looked in our bedroom window to see if anybody was there, because I could tell somebody was home. I could hear something, and then Michael Holt opens the door and she's in her bathrobe. She's naked in her bathrobe, all disheveled looking, and trying to pretend like she's been sleeping, and it was not a good act. And she said, "I didn't hear you." And then she made this fake comment over to Alvaro, who was on the couch in the living room. She said, "You didn't hear that?" I said, "I've been ringing the doorbell." And she's like, and she looked over at Alvaro. She said, "I thought he was going to get it." She said, "I was asleep." And then she looked over at him and said, "You didn't hear that?" It was such a fake comment from her. I knew that they had been together. But she was trying to pretend it was a good idea. She was trying to pretend that she didn't hear because she'd been in her own room. And Alvaro was trying to pretend that he was sleeping on the couch. He would never sleep on the couch when we have a bed in the room that we rent. And the TV was not on. The TV wasn't on when I was at the door. The TV wasn't on when I was there. He has never preferred the couch to the bed. And he would never, well, anyway. But then I initially thought, I don't think so. But I couldn't prove it. So then I said to Alvaro once I got into the house, I mean, I did think, though, I thought he took the keys from me this time because he wanted to control and know when I was going to be coming into the house, because he was going to be doing something that he didn't want me walking in on. And that's why he wanted the keys. And then I was in my room, and I said, "Aren't you coming to bed?" And he said, "Oh, I'm just sleeping out here." And I said, "Come to bed." And so then, and that's not typical for him either. Typically, he wants to do something at night, like a lot of men do. And for him, it wasn't every other night. It was every single night. And so he shows up, and he turns over to the side, and he's going to sleep. And I said, "Look at me for a minute," and the light was still on. And he turned and looked at me, and